I'm hoping to get through this because I'm starting so late. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to finish it before. In fact, I pray that I'm able to finish it before it gets busy in here, which can happen any time. So maybe I should just keep it quick. But the setup on this is pretty necessary because when you're talking about covenants are huge. When you make a pact with someone, it's a big deal. It's like the covenant that Russia made with China. That was a big deal, and it was done extremely quietly. And any impactful covenant is done quietly between two parties. That's the nature of the covenant. You're bringing something, the other party's bringing something, and you're making an agreement with someone to be absolutely passionate about who you are, and they're going to be absolutely passionate about who they are. And what they're saying is we're going to prefer each other. I've had relationships where I thought that I was making a covenant for someone or covenant with them, and then I find out that they're not so passionate about me, even though I'm doing my best to be passionate about them and what they bring. The nature of a covenant is a marriage. It's just no small thing. I made a covenant with my daughter's mother, and I kept that covenant no matter how much the circumstances tried to pull us apart. I was there for 30 plus years. I refused to leave. Because you're cutting the covenant. Now, I didn't see it as a quote unquote covenant at that time, but I certainly saw it as a pact. As a pact. To the degree, that I was willing to leave my family in Chicago, Illinois, and come to Long Beach, California. That's how strong of a pact it was. You don't get into agreement with people to be there for them and then try to destroy them. Or not show equal amounts of passion for them. And you don't cut a covenant with everybody. You're not cutting a covenant with everyone you know. I would dare say a covenant means that I am proclaiming our friendship. Because I'm not necessarily, I don't even need the word necessarily. I'm not friends with everyone. But I have discovered that cutting the covenant today, in the year 2025 and years previous, that when you cut a covenant with people, they don't necessarily consider you a friend. That's a flawed covenant as far as I'm concerned, because you become an option. It's not a true covenant. I could take you or leave you. Doesn't matter. That's when you're an option. But when you cut a covenant, we're in it together, good, bad, indifferent. We're working it out. we're going to work it out. I found something interesting in Genesis chapter 9 with Noah. That Noah had a great relationship with God, was obedient, and that sort of thing. But I want to see if you see what I see. In Genesis chapter 9, verse 1, and God blessed Noah. God blessed Noah and his sons before he made a covenant with them. We just want to see if you see this. He even explained to him that the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the field, beast of the earth. In verse 2. Then in verse 3 he said, every moving thing that lives shall be meat for you. You know, you have dominion over them. Pretty much do what you want with them. Verse 4 he says, but flesh with the life thereof, the body thereof shall ye not eat. Don't eat flesh. So he's giving instructions on what to do with the animals and that sort of thing. Verse 5, and surely your blood of your lives will I require at the hand of every beast. Will I require it at the hand of man? At the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. I'm trying to get somewhere, so I'm not trying to get into a thing on everything here. Verse 6, he says, whosoever sheds man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. Verse 7, he says, and you be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein. And God spake unto Noah in verse 8, and to his sons, that's powerful. That's the first time that happened, I believe. He spoke to the sons of Noah with him, saying, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you, in verse 9. So Genesis 9:9 is where God proclaims, after all this instruction, after the seventh day of rest, after the flood ends, after they unloaded all the animals, after the blessing, God, after the instruction that we just went over in verse 9, God proclaimed, and I, behold, I establish my covenant with you and with your seed after you. I want to explain that in a short period of time. This will be a short video. When you have a covenant with someone, you already have a finished work that you are presenting. In other words, you have a certain amount of wisdom in a particular area, and what you're saying is, I have a completed package, a full-blown product. And I'm trying to work in different dimensions with you so you understand this. In a relationship, I know who I am. Husband-wife type deal. I know who I am. I just need you to come along with me. This is husband and wife conversation. Husband saying, I know who I am. Wife is saying, I know who I am. I have a finished product. I know who I am. I'm not coming into this situation not understanding, with no wisdom. I know my role. I got you. Each party saying to each other, we're good. Now I just need a pact, a covenant, to bring the totality of what this is to fruition. God had such a covenant with Noah, and you'll see later on with Abraham. But today we're talking about Noah. He has such a covenant with Noah because everything had been demonstrated as matured, I dare say perfected. We have done this already. You have accomplished the goal. Paul talks about running the race. Jesus, after finishing his part, was on the cross. I know how to do this now. I've sometimes called it the first revolution of life. Once you've become successful at something, if you remember the process, you can do it over and over and over and over again. I've been successful in certain areas of my life, and I have supernatural recall on the principles of success, of bringing about success. So I go about now at this age trying to find people I can cut a covenant with. And oftentimes when you meet that person you want to cut the covenant with, they have not quite come to the understanding of who they are. Or they have fears that you're not who you are. So in my desire to be helpful, I would often show them the miracle or the ability. But then they would look at me oftentimes and wonder, how is it that you are able to do these things, but you don't have the fruit of those things? Here's my answer. Because I am learning how to attract people who recognize the value of a covenant. In the New Testament, it's called give and it shall be given. Pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give unto your bosom. These are New Testament principles. In Greek, I'm just discussing these same principles with you in the Hebrew world. With the same measure you give, it shall be given to you. Yeah, but not if you're not around the right people who don't understand covenant. When you're in covenant with someone, you shouldn't have to demand anything from anyone. We may have this conversation a little bit more, but I'm just getting to the, I think I'm just getting to the edge of where I want to go as far as teaching you, my kids, those who consider me a teacher, how to recognize those who are mature enough to handle you if you have a mature spiritual walk. And it shows you where everyone else is. The covenant is powerful. And necessary for walking out the success principles of the kingdom of God. So much to say there. I'm going to have to leave it there. CashApp $TheMrPaulDozier, or Zelle paulcdozier@gmail.com. If these videos or podcasts are helpful to you, please like and share them. I would appreciate it. I really would. Or give towards the ministry or service video. Thanks for taking a journey with me through the kingdom of God principles in the hopes of establishing the kingdom of heaven.